And we're back again at 2 Samuel chapter 2. I think we left off at verse 26, and we'll pick right up there. Then Abner called to Joab and said, Shall the sword devour forever? Knowest thou not that it will be bitterness in the latter end? How long shall it be then, ere you bid the people return from following their brethren? Verse 27, And Joab said, As God lives, unless you had spoken, surely then in the morning the people had gone up every one from following his brother. Notes. Now Joab throws the whole blame, and rightfully so, on Abner, and unfortunately that's going to be one of the few things that Joab does that's actually good. At least he had the common sense to put the blame exactly where it belonged, but we're going to go ahead and read on. So Joab blew a trumpet, and all the people stood still and pursued after Israel no more, neither fought they any more. Notes. Like I said, Joab was not a man of a tender heart, but he was wise and sensible and fully aware that the slaughter of Abner and his men, even if he could have destroyed them all, would only have rankled all in the minds of all of Israel. Basically, it would set them against David and his kingdom, and well, that's not going to be to their benefit. Verse 29. And Abner and all his men walked all that night throughout the plain, and passed over Jordan, and went through all Bithron, and they came to Mahanaim. And Joab returned from following Abner. And when he had gathered all the people together, there lacked of David's servants 19 men, and Asahel. And the servants of David had smitten of Benjamin and of Abner's men, so that 360 men died. That's 360, recorded in an earlier verse, verse 32. And they took up Asahel, and buried him in the sepulchre of his father, which was in Bethlehem. And Joab and his men went out all night, and they came to Hebron at break of day. Notes. Now this last chapter, this last verse of this chapter closes with the words, And they came to Hebron at break of day. You see, now the sun was now beginning to rise for Israel. The long night of spiritual problems was going to be over for a while. There would be other hardships and difficulties. However, the sun was not setting. Finally, it's rising. Chapter 3. Now there was long war between the house of Saul and the house of David, but David waxed stronger and stronger, and the house of Saul waxed weaker and weaker. Notes. Now the house of Saul was opposed to and persecuted the house of David. Fellowship was just impossible, and as then, he who was born after the flesh persecuted him who was born after the Spirit, and so it is now. Galatians chapter 4, verse 29, there's a good verse on that. You see, a carnal nature is the enemy of the spiritual nature. The victory is assured to the latter, that is predicated if the believer follows God's prescribed order, which is Christ and Him crucified. Without that, you have no victory, and quite frankly, you have no future. Verse 2. And unto David were sons born in Hebron. And his firstborn was Amnon of Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and his second Chileab of Abigail the wife of Nabal the Carmelite, and the third Absalom the son of Maachar, the daughter of Talmai the king of Geshur, and the fourth Adonijah the son of Haggith, and the fifth Shephatiah the son of Abital. Oh, verse 5. And the sixth, Ithream by Eglah, David's wife. These were born to David in Hebron. Notes. Now, without once inquiring of the Lord for direction in any of these matters, David follows a crooked, tortuous path, in effect, the dark ways of man. Neglecting the teachings of the book of Genesis, he became a polygamist. You know, those are marriages which bore bitter fruit in Amnon, Absalom, and Adonijah. And other mistakes, as we shall see, were going to be made as well. And it's going to create a rift between King David and his son Absalom, and it's going to prove to be quite dangerous. Now, had David fully consulted the Lord in all of these matters, his house would have grown stronger, and it would have done so much faster. Verse 6. And it came to pass, while there was war between the house of Saul and of the house of David, that Abner made himself strong for the house of Saul. And Saul had a concubine whose name was Rizpah, the daughter of Aiah. And Ishbosheth said to Abner, Wherefore have you gone into my father's concubine? Notes. The harem of a deceased king was looked upon as the special inheritance of his successor. So, in a sense, Abner had kind of overstepped his bounds a little bit here. Verse 8. Then was Abner very wroth for the words of Ishbosheth. And he said, Am I a dog's head, which against Judah do show kindness this day unto the house of Saul your father, to his brethren, and to his friends, and have not delivered you into the hand of David, that you charge me today with a fault concerning this woman? Notes. Now, obviously, this is very extreme indignation on Abner's part, and it is not very easy to understand. For he could hardly expect Ishbosheth to, endure quietly what at least was a great insult anyways. Verse 9. So do God to Abner, and more also, except, as the Lord has sworn to David, even so I do to him, to translate the kingdom from the house of Saul, and to set up the throne of David over Israel and over Judah from Dan into Beersheba. And he who was Ishbosheth could not answer Abner a word again, because he feared him. And Abner sent messengers to David on his behalf, saying, Whose is the land? Saying also, Make your league with me, and behold, my hand shall be with you, to bring about all Israel unto you. And he said, Well, I will make a league with you, but one thing I require, that is, you shall not see my face, except you first bring Michal, Saul's daughter, when you come to see my face. Notes. There is no record that David sought the Lord about this matter. Now, how long does it take for us to learn that no league can ever be made between the flesh and the spirit? One is carnal and of the world, and thereby of the devil himself. The other is spiritual and of heaven, and thereby of God. Quite frankly, it's overwhelmingly obvious that there is going to be problems because of this. Verse 14. And David sent messengers to Ishbosheth, Saul's son, saying, Deliver me my wife Michal, which I espoused to me for 100 foreskins of the Philistines. Notes. Well, it doesn't seem like David even prayed about this matter as well. Verse 15. And Ishbosheth sent, and took her from her husband, even from Phaltiel, the son of Laish. Notes. Now, this is obviously rotten. Besides David's affections for Michal, there were political reasons for demanding her restoration. Saul's despotic act in giving her in marriage to another man when she had already been engaged to David had been a public disavowal of David as the son-in-law of the royal house. That's in 1 Samuel chapter 25, verse 44. In effect, David's rights were all declared null by such an act. Now, Ishbosheth must, with equal publicity, reverse his father's deed and restore to David his lost position. As well for David to demand such, and Ishbosheth not being able to do anything about the situation, portrayed his great weakness, okay? And we must pick up in chapter 3, verse 16 of 2 Samuel. It will continue on. Thank you, and God bless.